What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This week's a little bit different. We're going to start off with, you know, actually putting the analysis to the road. So I've been trading this last week, traded on 2 days. So I just want to review one of the quick trades that I did. I only traded SPX this week, but I had a trade here on SPY. I use a SPY chart, but trade SPX options. So, after this rejection here at 755, I was looking at that weakness. Now, before this candle made its way really down, I was able to get in up here when this rejection hit. I was getting in somewhere up here. Took about 10 contracts of SPX, and then I was out in 1 minute. So, sometimes you have this high volume spike. Had a nice jump in the premiums. Entered in at 9.20 on the contracts and closing price at 13. So we can't ask for anything better. I also watched the Qs at that same time. So for coming over here, we started the day off weaker than SPY. We rejected this major 722 level that I was watching, and we rejected VWAP at that time. We just kind of flew through the 20-day moving average, and so that showed me that there was definitely weakness as we were coming down. So when we started doing that, it was giving me more evidence to be able to take SPY, and as you can see, the move played out. I also took another trade on SPY at that time when I was looking at, okay, 755 wasn't being reclaimed. We started rejecting VWAP here, and so at 7:37 a.m., which is around here after we rejected VWAP, I took a trade. Now this one started getting a little choppy, and I just wasn't too sure. That's the psychology of trading. I wasn't sure if we're gonna possibly test VWAP again, so I ended up getting out at 7:39, which is on this red. When it kind of went under this candle, I was out. And of course, you can see we tested lower. But if we look at the same thing for some evidence over here, at this time we rejected 718, which is very important on the QQQ, because the other day, if you look back, we held it here. Okay, very important. And over here was rejection. So, right? Previous resistance was turned to support over here. And now, since we're selling heavy through moving averages, on the Qs, I was looking for that rejection. And at that same time, I was rejecting the 50-day moving average. So that gave me that confidence. Obviously, it was a little bit better move over here on the Qs, but I wasn't going to wait to find out. So I only took 5 contracts. Again, important to size down on the next trade. Entering in at 11.70 and closing out for 13.20. So not a bad quick scalp there. So, I'll try to include my trades and show you guys that the analysis is, we're trying to put it to the road, going over that psychology, right? As I talked about here, my psychology is like, okay, I'm in, but I'm a little late, so I want to get out and lock in my profits and not wait, right? The ideal trade would have been way over here when we retested VWAP and rejected, and you can see the move was a lot better throughout the day. But again, you don't always have to wait for the most perfect trade. You just have to have your risks management in place, and of course, take profits when it's necessary. So, just wanted to share that with you guys. And let's now go into the weekly analysis like we usually do. So let's close this out, make this bigger. So for SPY, starting on the weekly time frame, we had a green hammer last week. We couldn't get through this 755. We had that rejection. Now I'd say we're back in this 750 to 740 zone. If we're looking for weakness, we got to get a weekly close under this 740 level, and that would bring in volatility. Doesn't necessarily mean we dump, but that'll bring in volatility. And on the upside, we haven't really been able to maintain above 750 major level, so we got to get up there and start moving if we're going to be testing all-time highs at 760. On the daily time frame, of course, we had that nice buying in the morning session on Friday, if you guys remember, but likely also shorts covering from that gap down. So although we had a green hammer, there's a lot of selling pressure that came in. So again, 740 is going to be a very important level to watch. You're under your 20 and your 50-day moving average. So that'll be important to look out for. Earnings. So there's a lot of things at play that could kind of affect this. The war. Um, so just be cautious of that. But if I'm looking for upside, I definitely want to get above this 746. As you can see, one daily candle close, we bounced there. Under, we were kind of rejecting here. We got back above. So I'd like to see us get back above this 746 level if we're going to maintain here. But 740, again, and remember, very important for the buyers to defend. On an hourly time frame, um, same, we had that gap down here. We recovered back up, and then we came back down into the opening hourly range. So very important to see this 740, which is around here, hold. As you can see, it's been good support to lead us up. And then this 746, 747 level, which was very key resistance for us on Friday for the SPY. As you guys can see, I mean, multiple rejections of 747 here. Okay. And I want to point out, if we're doing analysis, you can see how we have this flagpole bull flag. So what I always like to see is I want my strongest algorithm appearing when we're breaking out of the flag. And as you can see, it does so here. It does so here, but notice what's happening, right? The gradient of the buying is changing. We tried to use that algo to break out. Well, we slammed back into this new purple algo that formed. Here we tried to get aggressively out, went back to resistance, and immediately rejected back down. And then after that, we just could not get out of that algorithm. And we met really nice resistance here at 747, and then that led us a lot lower. So try to chart these trend lines. Again, they are just trend lines, doesn't mean anything, but they do help you gather clues into the market in which you may otherwise not see. So once this started happening here, it can grind up, and that's where it's key not to just start shorting now that we're back in the channel, but to wait for structure. Okay, so that's very important. Again, 747 reclaim for the bulls will be very important, and then this 740 down here, rejecting this maybe low of day. We'll see what we look like when we open. So let's see what the Qs is going to be telling us. So the Qs, of course, it's been a little bit more bearish as tech has been taking a hit. So let's watch out for that. Again, on the Qs, we're again down below the 20, we're down below the 50. So that's a little bit concerning. We were just making lower highs here. We haven't technically made, this weekly candle hasn't been broken yet, so I want to see that be broken to see like really nice downside selling pressure. On the daily chart, of course, we were outside the lower Bollinger Band. Always pay attention to that because there's always spikes when we hit that area. And we had the shorts covering. We're coming back up. We even tested the prior day low. So very important to see what this 700 level. I would like to see price above 700 if we're going to be going to the upside. I think that's a very important psychological number. There's been previous put walls there, so gamma data seems to change around that level. So we'll be watching that. Again, the 20 just crossed the 50, which is not a good sign usually. So make sure we pay attention to that. Tech seems obviously weaker, and we'll keep an eye on that. As far as the hourly chart, we had that nice recovery. We had a better range acceptance here. We didn't come so far down as we did in SPY, but again, the Qs seem to be a little bit more volatile at this time. So again, that 700 area, which is around here, I'd like to see accepted to go higher. But if we're coming back down into this range, then maybe looking for like a head and shoulder down into this 686 area, which is low a day, 670, 687, to see if we get any further downside pressure. And on a 1 minute perspective, first Friday, again, very important here. Okay, so remember I talked to you, it looks almost similar to SPY, where we have this strong buying algorithm here, and then we form this beautiful bull flag to the prior higher day and VWAP, and we use that green algo to get out, right? But as you can see, as we continue up, we stopped using that algo. And I just drew this algorithm that was starting to taper. And we broke out and couldn't get there. And then I was waiting for this head and shoulder pattern on put QQQ at that put wall. And you can see it played out beautifully. And it was just, it's patience, right? It's waiting, letting the market give you those clues so that you're there for that opportunity to take the trade. And you can see it worked out very beautifully here. I believe I had a quick scalp on SPX around here. Of course, it was SPY towards that end of the day. But the Qs definitely had a great setup at that time. So, um, you know, 686 level down here, very important. And then again, this 700 level, which is, we tried to get above it, range rejection coming down. So if we're looking at market news, see what we got going on this week. Got closed meeting here. We got some jobless claims on Thursday, and then Friday is the PMI that could possibly have an effect, plus all the earnings that may be coming out. So again, it's important to trade less, execute better, make sure we're waiting for the opportunities to present themselves. And going from there, I'll continue to share videos and analysis and start trying to include my trades as I take them so that we can learn together. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.